Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina, and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. And as you see by today's title, friends, it is 100 days until Halloween, where I make DIYs from now all the way up to October in the durations of every 10 days. So if you are new here, every 10 days starting from today, I will create a Halloween DIY to count down from now all the way up to October, and then from October I'll just create all different types of DIYs for you. If you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you can, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel. And if you know anyone who loves spooky DIYs, make sure to share it to at least one person. Now, with all that being said, let's just jump right into it and let's art today. Moving right into our first DIY, I have been wanting to make this for the longest, and the only way I can describe it is making a Halloween fake gingerbread tree with using Dollar Tree products. So as you see here, I have a large poster board that I purchased from Dollar Tree, and I'm rolling it onto itself to make a tree-like shape. And then I did add a little bit of hot glue on the edge of it, rolled it onto itself, and then pushed down firmly from the inside. So as you see here, here is what that tree looks like so far. Now I'm taking a pair of scissors and cutting off the excess at the bottom. This is the tricky part. You want to try to make it as even as possible so that the tree can sit up pretty much flat up against the table. So then I bend it onto itself so that I can see it level out, and then I keep bending it and pushing it, as you see here, until I have a flat consistency where it can stand up onto the table. Next, I am going in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint, and I'm going to give it a couple of coats of paint, set that off to dry completely. While that is drying, I found some of these gingerbread cutouts that I purchased from Dollar Tree a couple years ago, if not last year, and I am painting it using my black acrylic paint. Now I do water down my brush so that it's more of a stain rather than a solid paint, and I go over it a couple of times with that. Now this is where I got the idea when I saw these gingerbread men, and I saw a couple pictures on Pinterest and also pictures from at home and other stores that have them, and I really wanted to make it, so I finally get to do so. After they had time to completely dry, I'm going in with a white Posca paint marker, and now I'm making those little gingerbread men into a skeleton gingerbread men by just adding little dashes here and there to mimic a skeleton. As you see here, I added little dashes on the side to look like rib cages. I'm adding a neck, and then I just add a circle and 2 dashes in the middle for either the eyes or the nose. Now each one individually are going to be totally different, because as I kept going along, I just found a different rhythm and ways I wanted to make them look. So some of them have smiles, some of them don't, some of them have 2 eyes, and all of them have the ribs and the little bones onto the little gingerbread men. When I was done filling that out, I did place it off to the side so that it can completely dry. Now that my poster board and my little gingerbread men are completely dry, it is now time to assemble all of the pieces. Now I was just trying to figure out where I wanted my gingerbread to sit exactly, and I will be attaching everything using my hot glue gun. Now you can always use a stronger adhesive, however, since this is just paper, it held on nicely, and I just want to place it right there. Now I was trying to figure out how many gingerbread men would fit all around my little poster tree. So I first started off with one, and then I went over just a hair and started adding another one. So I believe I fit on about 4 gingerbread men, just so that it's nice and even, so I have one left over. As you see here, I just attach them once again using my hot glue gun. Now they are not even whatsoever. Some are higher, some are lower, but you will find a rhythm when adding all of your stuff on. Next, I go in and I found these little bones that I had in my crafting stash. I really don't remember where I got these. It's either from Dollar Tree or Temu. I am not really sure. I cannot remember for the life of me. And once again, I am attaching them using my hot glue gun. I just add a nice dollop on either side, push it down into the tree, and try to find the best placement for each one. I wanted it to be as even as possible, so I start off with the 4 corners and then I add the rest on the inside of the 4 that I set out. That way everything is nice and even, but once again, they are not straight. For some reason, every time I turn the tree, either one was shorter than the other, but it just adds more character to my tree. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So after I have all of those bones down, I then started adding the smaller bones that came in that set to the top of my tree. That way I don't need as many as the bottom half, and it just looks all cohesive. And I just added 4 of those little bones right at the top of my tree, once again using my hot glue to attach everything together. Now, you don't need the exact things that I am using. You can always use whatever you have in your crafting stash. Now, Dollar Tree is coming out with their Halloween and fall supplies, so you can pretty much find most of these items there already, but there are endless possibilities to decorate your tree. Now, as you see here, I found these lifelike spiders in my crafting stash. Once again, I believe I purchased them from Dollar Tree or Walmart. There was no label on there, so I couldn't figure out for the life of me where I purchased these. But remember, these took years for me to accumulate and collect, so I have a bunch in my stash. Now, to make this more into a gingerbread tree, I like to use this Fast and Final lightweight spackle that I purchased from Lowe's for my faux whipped cream that usually is on gingerbread themed items. So I place it into a piping bag with a piping tip. I really don't know the number of the piping tip. It's just one I had in my stash for a long time that I pretty much use for every type of dessert theme craft or DIY that I use. And as you see here, I'm going in an up and down motion, pressing firmly on my bag so all of that whipped cream comes out onto my tree. So I will add some at the bottom as you saw, and now I'm going in the middle, and this time I'm just using a dabbing motion so that it looks more like a blob of whipped cream in the center of my tree here, and that way it sticks more to the tree. Sometimes it's so lightweight it wants to come off of your item. In that case, you can always squeeze some on some parchment paper, let it dry completely, and then you can hot glue it onto your items as well. Next, I'm going in this little zigzag motion once again for the middle of my tree. I am so sorry that I am getting out of frame. I didn't realize once you're in the moment, sometimes I forget where the camera is located, but nonetheless, as you see here, I just keep on adding all of the whipped cream onto my tree. After I was done placing all of my whipped cream on my tree, the last thing I wanted to do for the tree was add this eyeball for my topper. Then I wanted my tree to be standing on something, so instead of it just being completely flat on the table, I found this wooden box in my crafting stash, and I wanted to cover that butterfly with a popsicle stick. These are the larger popsicle sticks that you could buy at Lowe's or Walmart, and I'm cutting it down to size. Now, since the butterfly was really large, I cut off a piece and then I'm adding it to the popsicle stick so I could cut off a secondary piece. Then I will place that to the side so that I can start painting my box. I wanted my box to be cohesive with my tree, so I'm going in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Irish Green. I really love using this green for all types of holidays, especially Halloween and Christmas. It's just a perfect green to go with pretty much everything. I do give it one thick coat on the bottom and on the inside to make sure that everything is nice and covered. Once that was dried, I found this 31 wooden cutout in my collection as well. I believe this came from Temu when they gave me that haul a couple years ago, and I'm going in with my Posca paint marker in the color black, and I'm just filling it in. Now, if you do not have Posca paint markers, that is fine. You just need some black acrylic paint and you can paint it on. Once that was dry, I wanted to glue on my popsicle sticks to cover that butterfly. Once again, I'm just using my hot glue gun to attach everything together. I make sure it's nice and even, press down firmly, and then remove the excess glue from the sides, and then I continue doing that for the top portion of my wooden piece here. That way it gives it a nice decorative look and it gives me a nice background for my 31 sign here, which I'm placing down with hot glue also. Next, for the inside of my box, I really needed something to hold up my tree, so I found some of this floral foam, which I purchased from Dollar Tree in my crafting stash. And as you see here, I cut off a square of it, but it still wasn't right. But all you need to do is press down firmly and it will start breaking off the excess needed. Then I added some hot glue on the inside edges so that it can stay into place. That way when I add my tree into the floral foam, it won't move. Then to hold up my tree upright, I am using a painter stick that I painted black, and then I added a little bit of hot glue to the end of it. But before I added it to my tree, I did need to add a little slit so that it can slide up into the foam that I have inside of my tree. I did have a large painter stick which I had to cut down a little bit so it wasn't so long, and then I place it right into the center of my floral foam that is in that square. Next, I then added more floral foam into the box so that it holds up my tree straight and adds more support around that painter stick. That way it doesn't wobble all the way around. You may have noticed that there are some glass beads now into my whipping cream on my tree, and that's because when I was putting them on, I totally forgot to hit record, so I do have to let you know without showing you that I did add those on there. And then lastly, to cover up that floral foam on the bottom, I'm just taking a little bit of this white fabric, which is from Dollar Tree's automotive area, and I'm just cutting it down to size and placing it inside, and that completes this DIY. Here is how my faux gingerbread Halloween tree turned out. I absolutely love it. I've been wanting to make one of these for a couple of years, like I mentioned before, and I finally get to do it. As you may know, if you've been following my channel, I like to make a bunch of different fake sweets onto my channel, and I just think this would be a perfect collection to my Halloween themed sweets area. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Moving right into DIY number 2, which can be DIY number 2 and DIY number 3, because this DIY is going to be double-sided. So I have this really thin piece of foam that I had in my crafting stash for a while when we got some new supplies in the mail, and as you've seen there, I did draw out a little triangle, but a rounded edge triangle onto it using a Sharpie marker. Next, I have my wood burning tool here that will help cut through that foam really easy like butter. But I do want to disclaim really highly, if you do this the same exact way with a burning tool, please make sure you're in a well ventilated area. All of my windows were open at this time, even though it's summertime and it's really hot. However, it's been really rainy over here, so it wasn't that bad, but I'm glad it was open because it needed to be well ventilated. So if you do this, please craft at your your own risk and make sure you take the proper PPE for everything. Now, as you see here, I'm just going around the area that I traced with that heating tool, and it came out like butter. Then I traced it again and did the same exact thing for another one because I wanted to make a matching pair. Now, for this side, I wanted it to have all of the colors that you will see in primarily a candy corn, but this one I wanted it to be more vintage, so instead of white I did go in with a oatmeal color. And all of these are my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint and Waverly chalk paint and pumpkin, if you're wondering the exact colors. Next, as you see here, for the top portion, instead of it being white, it is that oatmeal color, and I do give it a really generous amount of paint so that it's nice and thick and can fill up some of those holes that come in foam as you paint them. Then I will do the exact same thing for this second candy corn. Now for the bottom portion, I am going in with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Vintage Mustard, which is this nice orange yellow. If that makes sense. It's just this really nice yellow that works perfectly for what I am trying to achieve here. And I do the exact same thing, add a generous amount onto it, making sure to get in some of those holes that is on this foam piece. Then for the middle part, I'm going in with my pumpkin orange, and once again still adding a generous amount, but since each side is still wet, I do take that time to blend it in so it looks like a nice well blended piece. And then I do the exact same thing for the second one. This is how it looks after each one has been painted, and I set it off to dry completely. Now that it had time to completely dry, this is what it looks like, and I want to add a popsicle stick because these will be like little lollipops, candy corns, I guess. So I found this large popsicle stick that I have in my crafting stash. Once again, you can purchase these at Walmart or Lowe's for a couple of dollars. Then I wanted to add it to the bottom of my foam lollipop here, so I'm adding a little slit in the middle of it, add a dab of hot glue onto my popsicle stick, and then slide that into the hole that I created using my X-Acto knife. That way it has a nice even area where I can push in that popsicle stick. Next, I'm going in with my Sharpie paint marker, which you can use a Posca paint marker as well, or use a very thin brush with black acrylic paint, and I'm going around the edges. This will give it a nice cartoony look and added detail onto your little candy corn lollipop here. This is optional, by the way. You can just paint your candy corn and call it a day. However, I just love adding extra pieces onto my little DIYs. After I was done with that one, I do the exact same thing to the second one. However, for the second one, I wanted it to be different. So I went in with that same the Sharpie paint pen, and I am drawing on a face. This is free-handed. If you are not confident freehanding a face onto your project, you can always download a picture. You can use your Cricut. There are plenty of different ways to make a face. However, I just freehanded mine, and I will then fill it up. I do have to go over everything with a second coat just to make sure that everything is nice and opaque and really crisp. This would be a great project, especially if you have little ones who do not like the creepy, scary type of Halloween decor. This was really fun to make, and I absolutely love using paint markers because they dry really quickly. But if you do not have paint markers, like I said, you can always use acrylic paint and a really thin paintbrush. Now, as you see, I did fill up the tongue using red Posca paint marker, and then I thought the eyes were a little bit too busy, so I went in with a white Posca paint marker just so that those are nice and filled in. Once I was done drawing on my face, I then wanted to cover my popsicle stick. So once again, I am using my black Posca paint marker, but you can always just use black acrylic paint or Sharpie marker if that is all you have. And once I was done filling up the popsicle stick, I did the same exact thing for the second one as well. So one is just plain and the other one has a face, which I thought was super adorable. but I really wanted this to be double-sided, which technically leads us to DIY number 3. But for this side, once again, it's still going to be a candy corn, but it's just 3 different colors. I really wanted to add this folk art home decor chalk paint in the color Irish green to the top portion of my candy corn. Then for the bottom portion of my candy corn, I'm going in with my folk art satin purple paint, as you see here, which is a vibrant purple, which is perfect for a Halloween decor, and I added to the bottom portion of each candy corn. Once I was done with that, for the middle portion, I am going in with my Apple Barrel black acrylic paint and filling it in, and then trying to blend each section off together. Once again, I do the exact same thing for the second candy corn. Then, just like the first ones we made, I am going in with my Posca paint marker, this time with a white one, and outlining the outer edge of my candy corn here. And I do the exact same thing for the second one. But once again, I wanted one to be a little bit different than the other. So with that same Posca paint marker, I am drawing another face onto this candy corn. I try to make it a little bit different than the one in the front of it. So I added different style eyes. Plus I'm using a white Posca paint marker instead of a black one. Once I was done with the eyes, I then draw in a nose and also a mouth. Now for this one, I did color in the nose with a red Posca paint marker and color in the tongue with the same red Posca paint marker, just to add a little bit of a different detail and make this guy a little bit different. As you see here, it is now double-sided, and I absolutely loved how it turned out. I did paint those popsicle sticks on the back side, once again using my black Posca paint marker, and then I wanted to add bows. Now, a lot of you suggested on how to make a bow, since I struggle every single time making a bow, and what a lot of you told me to do was cross it over and then pinch it in the middle so that you have that bow shape. Take a piece of twine and tie it off really tightly in the middle and make a knot. Then cut off the excess and you have a perfect little bow, which I found out to be super easy. I did have to practice a couple of times, but I finally got it down, and I absolutely loved how this little bow turned out. So thank you so much for all of the suggestions that you guys gave me last time when you saw me struggling trying to make a bow. Then I wanted to add another little one on top of the one that we just made. So I have this glittery orange ribbon in my stash. Once again, I'm using the same method as the first bow. It's just a little bit smaller. I cut off the excess, cut down the little tails, and then I'm gluing it to the center of that one. And then I will continue adding bows to all 4 sides of my candy corn lollipop, and that completes the DIY number 2 and number 3. Here is how my candy corn lollipops turned out. I absolutely love them, but I really would love to know which side is your favorite. Is it the green, black, purple side, or is it the regular candy corn side? I must admit, this one was pretty hard. I love each side, which I can be biased. However, I really had fun making these. These are super simple and easy and very affordable to do. Pretty much everything I had on hand already, but I would love to know which side was your favorite down in the comment section below. Alright friends, that completes today's DIYs, our first 100 days until Halloween video for you. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I had a blast making each and every one of these. Now I know there's technically 2 DIYs in this project, however 3 came out of today's DIYs. But I would love to know which one was your favorite down in the comment section below. Remember friends, if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is hit that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free. Don't forget to click on the bell notification so YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a video. Plus, we would love to have you here being part of our virtual art family. Now, If you can also please smash that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel. Don't forget to share it to at least one spooky friend of yours so that we can reach more people. I would love to hit 10,000 subscribers by October. I really think that we can do it. So if you can help me out there, I would deeply appreciate it. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time and watching today. I really do appreciate you. And as always, I will see you in the next one.